Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking PlatformCon 2023. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Diego Munhoz. I've been with Ubisoft for the past 4 years. I'm a former SRE and I'm an architect for the Ubisoft Rome Platform. Before we move any further, who are we? Ubisoft is a French gaming company. We are well known for some loved games throughout the years, like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Rainbow Six, The Division, and a few others that you may have in mind. I'm a member of the IT engineering platform team, which is responsible to tackle all the tech that enables our production teams to focus on what they really do better, which is build awesome video game worlds. And with that, what is the Rome platform? Well, to enable our development teams, our production teams to do more, we set ourselves to build this platform, which is main idea is to be a central place where many internal contributors would come to use the existing services, the building blocks, and also to host their own. So that's the mission that we set ourselves to do. With that, and just to kind of set our bearings straight and what we're going to talk about today, I will be answering a few questions. And the first big one is what is organically built and what it really means. I'm going to talk a little bit about the problems and the outcomes that will come out of it. And later on, I will go about on how we put the brakes on, we regrouped, and we plan the road to fix Rome. So, starting in, and to answer that question, what is organically built? Well, lately it's kind of a common scenario where companies they are setting themselves to build their own internal platforms, either to reduce cost, to bring back some workloads from the cloud, or again, just to save some development time from their internal teams to reuse more, to let those teams to focus on whatever is their core business. So building organically means that you are trying to solve those immediate problems as fast as possible and without focusing too much on the long-term vision for what your platform set itself to be. So there is a big pro for that. So you'll be able to move fast, but then again, there is also a higher cost because it will have a bigger impact when it comes time for integration, for you to make those products talk with each other and to work as a platform. You will start noticing a few cracks and a little bit here on scalability and reliability. So we're gonna get there. But let's talk about the problems, right? So when we say that something was organically built, so what is that? What does that mean? For us, we identified those six horsemen that led to chaos. I can assure you that's what's gonna happen if you have some of those in your platform. And I will go over each one of them and highlight a few things that when we look back now, it's kind of much easier to connect the dots. So the first one is governance. So when you start, you are going about it, you want to get the result fast, you want to start coding and getting putting those things together, you may oversee the need for a clear governance, clear establishing the guidelines and the standards that will guide your development teams. So without that, of course, as developers, they will do their best to adapt, but they will ultimately fail. They will fail because they don't know which target they are supposed to hit. We will talk a little bit more on that on focus later, but keep in mind that governance is key from the get go. Also, we called something called the manageable. And what is a manageable? So when we are building a platform, you have different teams. They are all going about their development cycles, and you're gonna soon figure out that there are some common pieces for this platform that you're gonna build. So a considerable part of that is the infrastructure. And as you begin, you'll probably lack a transversal team that is responsible to deploy, to manage, and to maintain that infrastructure. Soon, some cracks they will start to show when you try to scale that up, and also when you realize that reliability is kind of becoming a problem. Also, the cost as your platform grows cannot be neglected. So they will be out of control pretty soon. And that's all because you started with something that is unmanageable since the beginning. Security is another one. It's a big topic these days, especially as we see more and more attacks and day zero exploits going all over the place. So if you don't have the guidelines to begin with, again, every team will do their best approach to security. But that comes with some unknowns. Different teams will weight security differently against their product pipeline. They will give different meaning for that. And later on, when your security team starts to do some evaluations of your platform, of your products, those little mistakes at the beginning, they will prove to be quite hard and quite costly to fix later on in that development pipeline. Another issue that we detected was the hyper focus. So we had the teams now, they were all breaking down in kind of a makes sense for the tools, for the products that they were going to build, and they went into the silo. They were heavily focused for months in building their own products, to building their own tools that would later then become part of the platform. So this hyper focus without proper communication and transversal sharing, it kind of became a problem when it was time for integration. So this kind of shows another crack. When you're building something hyper focused, platform becomes an afterthought. And that is something that you want to get yourself away from the most that you can, especially as you're trying to build a platform. Another one is the strategy. So what is the end goal? What do those products are meant to be? They are meant to be something bigger, how they should interact, how do our clients should use them? Those are some of the questions that you should be asking yourself right from the beginning. That will help you guide the decisions you make and set the focus what is really important for your platform. So not having that decisive strategy at the beginning will definitely fail you to orient the development teams and how they should go about their products. The last one that is also quite important is the transversal. So as you start, again, you set up all of your product teams, but the transversal topics, the ones that pertain more to the platform that touches everyone, they are just not paying attention. So without having a team that its sheer focus is on the transversal topics, a number of silos will be built inside your development teams. So knowledge transfer won't happen, reuse of common parts will stall, and later on in that process, you will find that everyone kind of did a little bit of a version of the same thing, and they will all get tired of maintaining that little version in the long run. So those are the problems, right? So let's talk about a few of the outcomes that we will face immediately after seeing those problems. The first one, again, you end up with multiple teams, right? You had no strategy to begin with. You had no governance. You had no scope. So you end up with a number of teams. And at this point, since you don't have that long-term vision, you don't even know if those teams, they will be part of it, if they will make sense in that long-term vision for your platform. A number of these teams, they tend to later be collapsed or be completely restructured, which can live in some legacy code or even some tasks that now will have to be moved to different teams. Another one is the hyper focus. Again, without the governance, that led all teams to have similar requirements, but without even realizing it. Not having that transversal team again to shine some light on what is a work that belongs to the platform, duplication of efforts will ensue, and next, you will see that every team will start to build their own environments so they can start developing. They will come up with their monitoring stacks, they will come up with their logging stacks, security requirements, and so on. Again, all that will collapse later on when those teams they get stretched too thin to have to focus on delivering their features for their products. So the lack of strategy in the absence of a transversal team, can lead those teams to assume they're responsible for much more than they should initially be. So they will build all those missing pieces and they will somehow make it work. But again, they'll make it work to the best of their knowledge, right? Again, when they get to production, they will fail to maintain, they will fail to operate it in the long run due to the lack of expertise and the experience in running that day two operations. So, so far, you have heard about the problems, the outcomes, but how do we fix Rome? I know it's a little bit gloomy at this point, and you may even be questioning yourself if you should even build a platform. But there's a way out. If you just take a few of those key aspects at the beginning of your platform journey, they will for sure pay off big time later. Here, we use them to fix and to improve everything that plagued us so far. If those same aspects are considered from the get go, you'll have a much easier time in the future. So let's just go about those aspects now. The first one, and to begin with, we're talking about the designing plan, right? You should set up a central architecture team. This team has to have the mandate to design and plan your platform. The long term vision has to be set in stone, and it should trigger the creation of a technical strategy. That technical strategy is what will turn your vision into reality later. So, this step is quite important. Also, the short term objectives that need to be achieved, they have to come frequently from this team and then they have to make it clear on how those objects fall in the big picture. It's important to have that vision for the big picture. To do so, you may use like tech townhouse where your architects solidify the vision and present what efforts have produced so far. The key word here is literally letting the team know where are we going. Then we have the execution. So teams, they must communicate properly over the features that impact the whole platform. This needs to be communicated and shared often between the teams. You also have it to make it know that anything that impacts the whole platform has to be built together and has to be part of the technical strategy. So no closed door conversations, just make it clear and make it the focus. And on the focus, well, sometimes focus can be a moving target. So at the beginning of each quarter, each sprint, that depends on how your company perceives time, teams they have to come forward and they have to communicate their immediate needs. That way, the platform will be aware of what is needed and what is expected to be delivered within that time frame. So again, communication is key to make this effort success. Next one is, what are transversal topics so important? You saw me mention the transversal a number of times during this presentation, but having a transversal team whose mandate is to focus on those transversal topics can be the key difference between success and failure of your platform. This team focus should always be on understanding the big picture, and they have to work closely with that architecture team to put in place the vision and to put in place the components that will keep that platform alive. You may have more than one transversal team if their focus differ, like you could have an SRE team who is responsible for infrastructure of that platform. You may also have another transversal development team at this time whose focus is on to create platform capabilities that will interconnect all the products. That is to say, you have to have someone whose mandate is to look over the platform at all times. So that's it, guys. Thank you for being here today and for tuning in for PlatformCon 2023, and see you around.